Hello and welcome back to the Survival Horror Guide, a show where we play and then review survival horror games. We rate them on their fear factor, then we give them an overall score. Finally, we send it over to the series' totally arbitrary rating system to see how it stacks up against the rest of the survival horror competition. You guys, I'm a little backed up. I've got several horror games I finished recently that are pending that we need to review, so it's time to get to work. And today, it is time we check out Resident Evil 5.
I'm going in. Don't get electrocuted, dog!
Co-op horror action, baby. This game is crazy. A game that would make Michael Bay blush. I remember when Resident Evil 5 came out, the anticipation for this game was freaking unreal. Considering how huge of a deal Resident Evil 4 was, the next mainline entry in the series had a lot riding on it. But of course, hardcore survival horror fans were understandably apprehensive. The emphasis on co-op, the over-the-top action, the lack of traditional zombies, again.
Got him up. Got him up.
Yet, the game was a massive success in the mainstream and was Capcom's best-selling game of all time until Monster Hunter World happened. And to this day, fans either seem to despise this game or accept it for what it is. A silly, cheesy romp that heavily deviates from its roots, but is still a bitchin' good time. I definitely fall into the latter.
Oh, fuck, she's coming, dude. Oh, that does damage.
I'd go so far as to say that this game is a little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine.
Nice air punch, dog.
Last year, after many requests, people were asking for me and my friend Lou to play through Resident Evil 5 in its entirety in co-op. And we did just that, and it was freaking hilarious. Be sure to hit up my Let's Play channel, Monsters in Space, to check it out. The game starts off with Chris Redfield arriving in an African village, teaming up with fellow BSAA agent Sheva Alomar, a series newcomer. The two investigate a recent outbreak to find the village swarming with BOWs. Against ridiculous odds, they're basically dicked over by the BSAA, given little to no support, and sent basically on a suicide mission.
This is insane!
You ever get the feeling you're expendable?
It's kind of interesting to see that, yeah, BSAA, not all it's cracked up to be, almost planting the seeds for what's to come, with Resident Evil Village ending on that damn cliffhanger. The game's setting is one of its key characteristics, a pretty far cry from the American Midwestern town of Raccoon City, and honestly, I freaking love it. I remember reading articles saying that the blinding light of the sun was used to the same effect darkness was used in the original games. Not sure how true that is, but I will say the first couple hours of the game take place entirely in the daytime, and I think the first couple hours of the game are honestly the strongest.
Okay.
See, we made it easy.
The most memorable moment in the game for me was near the beginning when you're basically left to survive against the Executioner and swarms of infected villagers. It's a crazy sequence just trying to survive, and it's actually quite challenging right off the top, definitely taken from the Resident Evil 4 playbook, and they even replicated this idea again in Resident Evil Village. It's a great way to kick things off, dude. I freaking love it.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
And you know, it makes sense. This being the first numbered entry since Resident Evil 4, it really is more of a sequel to 4 in terms of gameplay than any other game. There's basically there's the classic Resident Evil trilogy, and then there's the action Resident Evil trilogy. So with that in mind, yes, Resident Evil 5 takes most of its cues from Resident Evil 4. It was interesting playing this with a friend who had never played one of these games before, and to hear his complaints about how stiff and jank it feels, how awkward the controls are, because I'm just used to it. The game essentially has the tank controls of the classic trilogy, just with the camera shifted to be over the shoulder. It certainly takes some getting used to, and might be a bit jarring to go back and play if you're a newcomer. Once you get used to it though, the guns do feel good, they feel satisfying, and having the option to follow up melee attacks like you did in 4 after staggering an enemy, it returns, and it's something that I always loved and leads to some pretty badass moments. You can upgrade and customize your weapons, that all returns from 4, but there's no merchant or anything this time around, which feels like a major missed opportunity. You're basically just spending your money in a menu between chapters. But who are you buying all of this shit from?
Nobody knows.
I was also impressed at how good this game still looks. It's 13 years old now, which makes me feel ancient. But honestly, visually this game still holds up. I played this on my 360 back in the day, and I remember it having terrible screen tearing and poor frame rate. But luckily there's modern re-releases with the game running at a solid 60. We played this on PC, and it was freaking great. The character models and the lighting look really good. Textures, you know, were a little bit suspect, but hey, this game is freaking 13 years old.
Oh, no!
Resident Evil 5, though, is far from perfect. Some of the boss battles are a serious pain in the ass. There's a ridiculous amount of QTEs, those goddamn QuickTime events. You might think you're watching a cutscene, take a sip of your drink, and then bam! QTE, and you're done. It happens so many times. Though to be honest, failing some of the QTEs absolutely leads to some hilarious moments,
Yeah, I fucked that one up.
especially if you're playing in co-op.
Oh, fuck.
You gotta let go. Is this why we don't see her in any other games? No, Chris gonna do something. I almost missed that. Did I miss it? I did miss it! What the fuck? I pressed that shit!
Also, the turret sequences. God, how I hate the turret sequences, and there's a lot of them. There's boss fights that entirely rely on turret sequences and QTEs mixed in. It's just the worst. This was an era where there was turret sequences in way too many games. I despise it. Of course, one of the game's biggest selling points is it's playable entirely in co-op. And listen, if you're gonna go down this road, if you're gonna play Resident Evil 5, do yourself a favor and play it with a friend. It makes the experience so much better.
Slice the tomatoes, or whatever those are. Hey, come on, dude.
I remember back in the day playing this game on the hardest difficulty with the AI, and it was nearly impossible. There's some light puzzles that force you to cooperate with your partner, sequences where one of you needs to be doing an action while the other one covers you.
I thought you were across.
Even bosses that require cooperation and coordination in order to beat, including one of the most famous fights in the game, the battle against Wesker, who is of course the main villain in this game, and he is so cheesy, yet so charming. You can't not love Wesker, he's the absolute best.
Planning to use this to spread it. There he is.
He's gonna spread it.
The final fight against Wesker is so ridiculous and over the top. You're fighting him in a goddamn volcano. Any semblance of keeping this series grounded is long gone at this point. And of course, this is the sequence that features one of the most famous QTEs in video game history. Fuck that boulder up, Chris.
Give him the liver shot, dude.
On the fear factor scale, this game is a 3. Look, it's just not scary. There are some creepy enemies, I'll give it that. But really, you can't even hold it against this game because it's just not what they're going for, and that's fine. Overall, this game is an 8. Listen, it's dumb, it's over the top, it's junk food, right? It's not good for you, but you gotta treat yourself every now and then. Just do yourself a favor and be sure to play with a friend. Now taking it over to the series' totally arbitrary rating system, Resident Evil 5 punches its way into the number 11 spot. Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Survival Horror Guide. And look, I'm in catch-up mode right now. We have like several games that we finished that are pending that I just need to add to the Survival Horror Guide. We finished Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Martha is Dead, Parasite Eve 2. There's a lot to cover, so stay tuned for those. And just a reminder, all of these playthroughs, all of my Let's Plays, they're available over on the Let's Play channel at Monsters in Space. I'll link it in the description. Thanks again for watching this one, everybody. Peace.